Welcome into
Oh.
Bookie, Brooke, and the boys. We got Bookie, Brooke here. We got the boys here, myself and Tyler Sprinkle. Boys, how's it going?
Not bad.
Should be better.
It could definitely be better. We got some rough stuff to go over here from last week. But overall, exciting week of college football this week. Kind of dive into some of the point spreads here throughout the week here. Are there any point spreads, maybe not ones that you have on your sheet, but any ones that you've seen so far that kind of caught you off guard, that you're eyeing a little bit closely here?
I was right on it last week with Arizona. Who did they play? Oregon.
Washington. No.
Was it Washington? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
I see LSU, or not LSU, USC in a similar spot. Big game next weekend. Their defense isn't the best. That game, I like Arizona catching the points again.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Wyoming -6 against
+6.
Fresno State. They're +6. Excuse me, +6 against Fresno State. I apologize.
We've seen USC line. Are you right next to that?
Yeah, let me pull that up here.
I think
they are -22.
Yeah, you're gonna give me the hook there. As long as Arizona doesn't lose by 3 touchdowns, I think Arizona.
That's a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, and we've seen it already a couple times this year. People going into Wyoming and just not making it out of their hole. I do kind of like Wyoming +6.
It's a tough place to win for whatever reason. That's why Power 5 teams don't play there. Just ask Texas Tech.
Just the elite ones who aren't afraid to know shit.
Yeah.
Texas Tech and Baylor might be the most disgusting football game of the week.
Oh, that's a gross one.
Which I'm all here for. Let's see here. Yeah, those are kind of the ones that I had. Iowa only favored by 3.5 against Nebraska is just disgusting to me. Nebraska's going to win that game by double digits. So that one I feel pretty good about. Central Florida and Kansas.
Hold on.
Curious
What's up,
on where Tyler leave? Oh,
he
Tyler.
said timeout. He was calling for a timeout. I don't know what happened.
Oh, my bad. I didn't see.
Let me do some. Tell me when he hops back in.
All right.
I'm just gonna look at more of the lines. Oh shit.
Let me see.
LSU's down to 5.5. Oof. UCF Kansas is an interesting one.
Yeah, that'll be, especially, I mean, just not knowing what the Kansas quarterback situation is going to be.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. I like the over in that game, whatever it is.
64.5. That's a lot.
That is a lot. I think that'll be a track meet. Same thing with Arkansas Ole Miss.
Classic SEC defensive showdown.
Is Tyler back in here?
Just means more. No. Oh, there he is. Hey, Tyler.
Hello. Excuse my technical difficulties. I apologize for that.
What happened?
I just kept hearing it cut in and out from both the earphones. So I tried to put them back in and in again, and it didn't work. I tried to shut down everything.
You sound real choppy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys sound the same way. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it sounds like your audio is hooked up to your AirPods, not the microphone.
Okay. I just shut off my TV. Let me try it again. Hold on.
Sounds like you're on.
We're dialed in again. We're back. Cornhusker connection, Bookie Brooke after dark. Crazy shit happens. Looking onto the NFL side, lots of money being put on Miami and the Giants. Opened as a 4.5-point spread in favor of Miami. It's already shot up to as high as 11.5.
Right now it's 11. Yeah.
Yeah, 11. 90% of the money being put on Miami there. So that one's interesting. What did Vegas see earlier this week that I didn't? But
they saw Daniel Jones being a fucking numpty and their offensive line not being able to block for him.
Good Lord, that was a tough game to watch.
What
Yeah. I mean,
except
but we did get to see Drew Lock. I love me some fucking Drew Lock, baby. Let's go.
fucking go.
That
Shut
was my
up.
Super Bowl.
Give it
If
a
the
rest.
Broncos
No
don't
one
win a single game
cares.
the rest of the
He's
season,
irrelevant.
We'll just turn on Drew Lock highlights. That's all that matters.
I don't know if I can be on this podcast anymore with Brooke on here. It's either me or Brooke.
I hear about fucking nobody from nothing state running the ball one more time. Fucking Jaleel McLaughlin, whatever his fucking name is.
I was talking about Drew Lock, you piece of shit.
I would
He's not even on the
sacrifice.
Broncos anymore. Why do you care?
Because I love him.
Well, he sucks.
Well, he doesn't.
Well, he does.
Well, he does not. He's still
I don't
on
think
the
he
NFL
does,
team. Where you
but-
at?
Well,
What's
that's
wrong
not-
with you? Why do you want to hurt me?
Because
That's wait, hold on. No more Bookie Brooke section. Let's see. Let's unpack this. All right. Why do you want to hurt me?
listen.
Mm-hmm.
You do this thing where anybody who ever has played for the Broncos at any point, you're like, oh fuck yeah, I love seeing him do. Like, there's a million people that played for the Broncos.
You don't feel the same way about any Chiefs players that ever played for them?
A few, but I feel like you have so many.
Well, because the Broncos did him so dirty that
So fucking dirty.
said, "Hey,
I love Drew
Tyreek
Lock.
Hill.
What? Who else? I love Drew Lock. Who else?
Noah Fant, you were talking about.
I love
Who else?
Noah Fan, Omaha."
so many of
Fuck,
them. I can't.
he's an SOB, you fucking fucker.
Yeah, shout out Noah Fant. That's the only one.
Yeah,
I'm
you piece of
behind.
shit.
Whoa,
Then what? Yeah, no, you
Take it
got me
down.
going. No, you got me going. What's next?
I mean, 5-11 is looking real good for the Broncos right now.
Oh, that's what we're going to. Good
Mhm.
job. Good job. Way to be
Listen,
a fucking team player.
We're both in the same boat. The regular season doesn't matter for both of us, remember? So,
For you, no, you say that. I don't say that. You say that.
well, it doesn't matter for you either because the Broncos suck. But
Fuck you.
So you shit on us for rooting for the Broncos, but then when players leave the Broncos, we can't cheer for them either.
no,
Which
it's
is
not.
according to
Who
Brooke,
are we
nope,
allowed to
Nope,
root for?
nope, nope, nope,
No,
Who
according
do
to
we-
Brooke,
who
we're
do we-
no longer allowed to root for
no,
anybody
no,
that
no,
is
no,
not on the
no,
Broncos,
no,
and we're
no,
also
no.
not allowed to root for the Broncos.
Should I
So we
submit
might as well
a list
become
of
Chiefs
players that I like
fans.
to watch
That's
so you
not
can
even
improve it
remotely-
before I watch on Sundays?
That's not even remotely what I said. I said, Tyler, every player that has ever played for the Broncos, he fucking, oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Isn't that fandom though?
Well, I mean, if he's on a different team, like, I'll give
I
you a
get
pass
attached
with
to these
Drew
players.
Lock.
Are they playing against the Broncos? So why would I not root for them?
Because they don't play for the Broncos.
Unless they're directly competing against the Broncos, I will root for these players.
I mean, I don't root for Melvin Gordon.
What is your?
Yeah, you
What is
don't.
your problem?
You don't
What is your
love Melvin
problem?
Gordon. What the fuck?
Because he's a fumbling fuck and he stinks.
Oh, so there's
Oh, so I had to
Drew
root for.
Lock wasn't
If
good.
anybody has ever played for the Broncos, I had to root for them. You're a
Drew Lock
psycho.
wasn't good. You root for him. Why
He
is it
was
Melvin
good.
Gordon?
Oh, you are a son of a bitch. I
Why is
can't.
Melvin
I
Gordon
cannot
any
be on this
different?
podcast anymore with Brooke on this podcast.
Well, good. We'll just text you and we'll have a fade Tyler Sprinkle segment. You son of a bitch.
I can't deal with this shit. I'm going through enough as it is. I can't deal with Brooke fucking talking shit to me about the Broncos fandom that I have.
About Drew, nonetheless.
I love it.
About Drew Lock. And he brings up fucking Melvin goddamn Gordon of all people.
Well, they both sucked for the Broncos. I feel like it's a fair comparison.
Yeah, but also Drew Lock didn't shit on Denver on his way out. Is my point here. He represented the team well. I enjoyed watching him. I wish it had worked out. Melvin Gordon stinks. I don't have a problem actively rooting for his downfall.
Whatever.
Brooke really just triggered the fuck out of me right there. I'm not gonna lie.
Good.
He did
It's a sense of
what
mission.
he set out to accomplish, and he succeeded. I'll give him that. So
It's
hand
really
up.
easy to get Tyler going.
No, it's not. But that just fucking pissed me off.
How about those fucking Mets, dude?
Who cares about the Mets?
All right, I don't want to go that route because if you bring up the Cubs,
Yeah.
you're crying.
Yeah.
Well, we got some bets to talk about here, fellas, rightly or wrongly. Not
I
a
got
good week
one at
for.
least.
You
Zoom
did
out,
get one.
please.
That's oh boy, where does him go?
Probably my worst week so far.
Definitely. You did get one.
I got one. I figured I got one, and I did exactly one.
It's kind of upsetting because the two that I won was the ones that I bet against Tyler on. I wish I would have gone 5 for 5. I would have been a winner.
Brandon,
And it sucks
You gotta
because
change
I
Tyler's
think
number.
I'm sorry, Brooke. I think the line moved a little bit before the game, so it would have been an even better bet that I had. But alas, here we are.
I think you have to change Tyler's, Brandon. You gave him credit for. Or wait,
No, he only
did
gave
you
credit
give
for
him
one.
credit for Utah +3?
No.
Then why does it say? Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's on the right side. Okay, I was looking at the wrong.
Correct. Thank you for joining the
Oh yeah,
program.
I see. It's an easy mistake. Is how it's oriented.
How did Luke do though? I'm very curious to see how Luke did.
Luke
He
was a winner.
positive.
Yeah.
Oh, look at him! Let's go, Luke.
Same kind of thing, losing record, but it was on the bets that counted, so it comes out
him
$400 in the green.
microphone like this. Luke, give me Oregon State -3.
What are you mumbling?
That's what Luke was doing last week, dude.
He's doing his
I'm doing my best Luke impression.
Oh my
I mean,
was
it's
a
very
I'm just kidding. I love Luke. A great week for Luke.
It was very
Great week for
business-like. He's like, this is who I want. They're going to win by this many points. Let's move on.
That's right.
Very Bill Belichick-esque. He really kicked the shit out of us, both in this pick'em and in betting. But that's Here brings to our season
second,
total.
baby.
Still in second.
Hey, Brandon, so fucking lick my nuts, dude.
Dude, it pisses me off. We have the same record, and you have $1,100 up on me.
Yeah, that's right, Daddy.
All right. The bigger question is how am I 15-10 and I'm only positive $55? Good Lord.
I mean, it's life.
This last week hurt you a lot.
It did. It really did. If Duke's quarterback doesn't get hurt, it's a big old difference.
I know I don't know a lot about betting, but I feel like 11-14 is a pretty solid record for betting. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Assuming you bet the same amount of money on each bet, you're hanging in there.
Yeah.
If you had an even, like Brandon said, if you had a consistent unit that you bet, it wouldn't be terrible.
Okay.
And gotcha. I would also be up a lot more if that was the case.
So, Brooke, I love your part where you were talking about like the what was it? The money moving and the professional bettors betting on certain things. Is there anything that you see this week that's happening that way?
Oh, there was one. Let me try to find it. I was going to point it out. Frick.
Also, I just wrote down all my bets so you don't have to think about, whether or not I'm fading you or not.
Fuck you.
Is it Alabama, Texas A&M? It might be. Hold on. Sorry, fellas.
No, you're all right. So while you look that up, are you going to say something? I apologize.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. Brandon, is there anything that you're seeing that you're like, that is criminally underrated right now? Or are you going to save that for the actual pick'ems?
So Illinois being a favorite, the big one that I'm disgusted with. But I think I mentioned this earlier. starting at the beginning of the week, Dolphins favored by 4.5. Jumped up to 11 points, 90% of the bets on Miami. I'm curious what the thought process was for thinking that the Giants were going to keep it within a touchdown. But that's kind of the big one that jumped up to me here.
So their defense is. Go ahead, Brooke. I'm sorry.
I said there is one game that I saw it for sure. It's happening a little bit in the Alabama game where most of the money is on Alabama, but that one could still go either way. So 80% of the bets are on Notre Dame this weekend, and it opened at -7, and now it's down to 6.5. So that's reverse line movement, which makes me think there are professional bettors or professional betting groups that are betting bigger money on LSU to swing the line the other way, or it could just be Vegas doing the reverse line move. I don't know. So to me, I really
when you see that kind of thing, what are you thinking?
So for me, it's either a no bet or Louisville to bet on, and I'm on Louisville. So +7, they might win outright to me.
So I'm seeing -6. So you're saying. So you're not taking Louisville to win. You're taking them to cover 6. Is that right?
You could. You definitely could.
You're thinking outright.
That's just with my judgment, but
okay. And that's fine. But why? Why is that? Why are you thinking that way?
It just lines up where this is Notre Dame's third big game in a row against a ranked opponent. They're on the road. 80% of the bets on them. And like you said, there is this pressure to keep their college football hopes alive.
Yeah.
And I think it's just lining up for this is a spot that Notre Dame set up for a letdown.
Gotcha. And that's the only one you're really seeing that's kind of moved that way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, Alabama, I think, opened up in some places as like a 3-point favorite or 2.5, and they're getting a lot of the bets on them again. And that the line's down to 1.5.
They're 1.5 right now, favorites.
Yeah. So I like Texas A&M already, but I would much rather be on the smart money side than the public money. If you're betting on a team, obviously the public bets are going to win some of the time.
Gotcha.
But when you're making bets, you generally don't want to be on the side of the public because the house always wins.
So, one more question for you. And this game is kind of like not irrelevant, but nothing that we're talking about. And this doesn't affect you as like a gambler. But I'm just looking at this Wake Forest Clemson game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this game, and I'm new to betting, so I don't really understand what I'm looking at. So I see Clemson -21. Under 51.5. Is there anything else I should be looking at for this game, or should I be taking this game specifically at face value?
I don't really understand your question. Like you like Clemson?
Well, I'm just curious as to like I don't understand why the lines are set where they are. Clemson is at home, -1,600 favorites for the money line. So I'm just curious as to what you think for this game specifically. Again, this doesn't like put a mark on your record or anything like that. It's just me asking questions, trying to get familiar with betting because obviously I stink at betting.
I would say if you don't feel too confident either way, it's never a bad thing to just pass on it. But in my mind, I would lean Clemson.
Okay, gotcha. So there's nothing I'm missing. So like when you see a line like that, you're not missing anything. It's just that's what it is, and it's pretty
sometimes with those bigger spreads, like for example, my Arizona spot the last 2 weeks, I would take a look at who Clemson plays next week because if they have a big game, they're probably looking ahead a little bit. They're not worried about kicking the shit out of Georgia or who is it? Wake Forest.
Wake Forest. Yep.
Yeah. So just
Yeah.
little things like that.
That's just as I've gone through this, that's the kind of thing I get kind of caught up on, like bigger spreads. I'm like, oh, well, obviously Clemson's going to win. Well, I mean, I might as well bet them minus 21, and then it just doesn't work all the time. So that's why I was just asking you, like, what do you think in those circumstances? Because you guys have said, like, oh, bigger spreads don't always, like, are normally probably not a good thing, depending on the actual spread. But I was just curious as to what you thought on, like, those circumstances.
It's all about, like, your research and the spot. Like, if you see something in this spot, like, this is a get-right game for Clemson, or Wake Forest is missing a few guys. If you believe one thing or another, confidently, people have systems where, like, for instance, for me, in my mind, Notre Dame's third game in a row against a ranked team, they're probably running low on juice.
Yeah.
Got some guys banged up, and, energy and morale. It's going to be – and Louisville's not like a big name like Ohio State. Like, obviously, if they were playing Ohio State, they'd be pumped for this one. But I think Louisville in this spot is, this is probably their Super Bowl, playing a team as good as Notre Dame.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah,
Definitely a bigger game for them than Notre Dame.
Seem to get caught up in those big spreads. Like, I mean, at least 3 or 4 times this year, I'm assuming. And also, like, totals. So, like, when you look at a total, and I apologize if I'm getting too in the weeds here if we don't want to do that.
I love it.
But when you're looking at a total, what are you looking for? Like, what is let's not talk about teams here, I guess. Like, I know it's too hard to just say, like, this is the total you're kind of looking for. But what do you look at when you're looking at totals?
So I'll use USC.
And again, I know it's hard to like kind of
Yeah.
just say generally, but what are you looking for?
So obviously you're looking for outliers, and I'll use USC Colorado as an example. The total last week was set at 73, and some people are like, whoa, that's a big number, and Colorado didn't score a bunch last week. And to me, that tells me Vegas probably thinks USC on the road might take their foot off the gas a little bit, and Colorado can score. So last week I was kind of flirting on the line of, like, I like the over there, even though it was a ton of points. So again, it's all the research you do, and there are certain spots where public bets do just hit. But I will say, don't just blindly be like, oh, this team scores a lot of points. Like, the matchups and the style of play, the pace of play, and sometimes reversely, like, low numbers will go over, like Nebraska, Michigan. Like, everybody in the mom would have probably taken the under there, but the game got away from Nebraska. Michigan covered it by themselves.
Yeah.
So there are spots. Don't just blindly be like, oh, this team doesn't score a lot. Like, Vegas adjusts for all that. They take that into account when they're setting that line.
Yeah, and I don't mean to put you on the spot there. I've been burned on a couple totals so far this year, and a couple of over-unders this year so far. So I was just curious to see what your thought process was behind that, so I can become a better.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your input. Thank you.
If you're looking for, like, overs, you want to make sure before you bet an over, you think both teams can help you get to that number. In my mind, that's what I do.
And that's where I went wrong last week. I didn't think, and I said it outright. I was like, I don't think who even was it? Who was Oregon playing last week? Stanford. I was like, I don't think Oregon scores, but I thought that Oregon was going to just cover that by themselves, and that was silly of me. And so what you just said,
a little bit of a look ahead spot too, where they probably took their foot off the gas.
But they're both in Oregon and Washington are both in bye weeks, pretty sure.
Yeah,
But
true.
but to your point though, like you got to expect the other team to contribute to that total, and I did not. And like I literally outright said it. I was like, I don't think Stanford scores anything, but I think Oregon covers this by themselves, and obviously they did not. So that's like actually very good insight to like into those totals, because I do think totals are a better betting mechanism than like over unders, or not over unders, excuse me, but like team total, or no, what am I looking for? What's the word? Like somebody's -6. What is that called?
Spread.
The spread, excuse me. Yes, the spread. See, I don't even know that shit. Like, I'm new to this. I'm trying, and I'm having a great time like learning this with you guys. So I really appreciate you guys.
And
Accommodating me.
unfortunately, the only thing that'll help you learn more is time and just, like you said, paying attention to it.
Yeah,
And you'll start getting like gut feelings about certain things. And not all of them are correct. Obviously,
yeah.
if
Right.
it was easy, everybody would do it. But
Right.
there's just,
I did hit
especially
one
with the
though.
total, teams play each other a certain way where two
Yeah.
high flying teams might, play more defensive football for whatever reason. Some coaches are just more familiar with other teams' coaches and kind of have a handle. There's a lot of it that goes into it.
Gotcha. Do you have any particular algorithm, or not algorithm, but just any different thought process compared to college to NFL? Or is it kind of the same basis? Like just kind of see how these teams play each other,
For
what
me,
the matchups are.
NFL, I always try to remind myself they're all professional football teams and they all can play good some weeks and they all can play bad.
Yeah.
So with NFL, you really are betting the number more than the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
College, sometimes you can get away with, oh, I think this team's a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But
for me especially, I'll go ahead.
So like for whatever reason, today I was reading some stuff on Twitter. Whenever the Vikings are like underdogs, they typically trend towards being shootouts. And I was looking back and I'm like, oh man, like this really is true. So they play the Chiefs this weekend, like 4 or 5 point underdog. And I don't remember off the top of my head what that number was, but I could see the Vikings putting up 24, 28 points and the Chiefs getting to like 30. So I kind of like that over whatever it was.
And for me, especially looking at like the over unders and like the game totals, I look at kind of like what is this game meant to look like with these numbers. So like Michigan being a 17-point favorite last week and whatever the over under is. Okay, well Vegas thinks that Michigan's going to win by this many points, and they think that this many points is going to be totaled up. So then what does that game look like? And then there's a formula. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it basically calculates out what that projected score would be.
Yeah.
So that as kind of as technical and analytical as I get, but
yeah,
it's always just like, what kind of game does Vegas think it's going to be? And do I think that's accurate or not?
Yeah. That's the hard part for me is like, I see these numbers and I'm like, oh, obviously, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. Fucking Siri. So I see those numbers and I think like, oh, obviously that's going to go under. But then I look at the lines and it's like plus or minus money for the over. And I'm like, well, why are they thinking under here? So that's kind of where I get caught up is I think one way and then I look at these lines and I'm like, why are they thinking that's going to go over? And I think about it and I can't find a reason. But that's the reason why there are professional bettors out there and I'm not one of them. So so it's a lot to like comprehend for sure.
And I'll be honest, a big thing I do is like, especially with Twitter and so many people that do bet, I look for guys that like I trust in the information that they give out on why they like something. So I would say obviously do your own research a little bit or
but like like
but
last
also
week, right?
lean on other people and their experiences.
Yeah. Like last week, and this was after I made my pick. I heard it on a podcast, a different podcast. It was after the Steelers are favored on the road and they go on another road game, they are less likely to win or cover against that team. It's just like, damn, that's crazy. Like numbers, like, damn, these people are looking into it that much.
Dude, there are
And
some
thankfully, I came out
crazy-
on top because I figured like CJ Stroud was just going to take care of business, and I don't really believe in that Steelers team. But there are like there's crazy shit that goes on with these betting lines and stuff. It's very interesting to think about, especially if you're like a numbers guy.
And that's the thing is with the NFL, there's only 32 teams, so obviously there's going to be some trends like that where certain teams play better against this team that you wouldn't think, but play worse against a team that's not as good as them.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Gotcha.
home and road splits. Some teams just don't play good on the road. Some teams play way better at home.
Yeah. Gotcha. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. It's hard to wrap your mind around these numbers that they're throwing out there, especially when there's so many games and so many possibilities. It's tough sometimes. So I was just curious to see your insight on that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that with me.
You could look at it all a million different ways, and some people think they have it figured out or an insight, but nobody does. Nobody knows the results. It's just doing the best with what you think and the research you've done. You could do a research a game for a month and think deep dive on it. You could still, something could happen and you could still lose. So
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and Brooke, I like when you brought up like finding people who break down their bets, who you either like or don't like. You know, when I was betting actively, my favorite thing was listening to Colin Cowherd's Blazing Five, and either he would back it up. Well, he would either back it up and be like, you know what, he's got a good point there. Let me ride that. Or he'd be like, I don't think he's thinking about this, or I don't think he's on the ball with this. Then I go the other way with it.
You, like you said, you don't even have to agree with what some people are saying. You just, you take the information you like and, you do with it what you will. There were years where Colin Cowherd was like close to 70%, on his Blazing Five picks, which is unheard of. And then this year he was like 0 for like 15 or 20.
Yeah.
So
I know at least went 2 or 3 weeks without hitting a single pick.
Exactly. It's so crazy.
On that note, do you think that there's sometimes too much information that kind of gets you caught up in the weeds? It's like some of the shit doesn't matter. It's out for them to go out and play because they're collegiate professionals or actual professionals.
Exactly. It's if you feel a certain way, it's going to be hard to get off of that feeling unless you feel like you're falling. There are Vegas trap games where unless you feel like you're falling into a trap, and where you're like you kind of the more you do it, the more you kind of recognize it. Like for me with LSU, I was like, there's no way Ole Miss should be in this game. And in my mind, LSU played terribly. They didn't tackle a soul, but obviously Vegas probably saw that one coming a little bit more, where they were baiting people into betting LSU because it was such a low line.
Which is crazy. Like, it's crazy that they can kind of like foresee that happening. I don't know. There's a lot of numbers here that you got to digest, and it's tough.
So that's a big play in that LSU Ole Miss game was where Ole Miss went for 2
last week, right? Let's say last week.
Ole Miss went for 2, and to me, it looked like Ole Miss was short, and they didn't even review it. So to me, something felt fishy there, where it was like, oh, there was no chance. Even if LSU scored, they were just going to kick that extra point and win by 1. Where it's like weird little things like that, where it's like.
So do you feel that way about just because it's fresh in my mind, like the Chiefs Jets game? Do you feel like that was like kind of?
Well, that one.
You hate to think it's like rigged, but there's just some things that happen. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
And more so was just the Chiefs were trying to move the chains and kill the clock. And I think a coach Andy Reid or the OC was probably like, hey, we can get a first down and end the game rather than obviously, you go up 10 points with a minute left, you feel pretty good about it, but they're like, hey, let's just take all the external factors out of it. Let's get out of here with a win, go down if you can. So,
because obviously these players aren't thinking about like lines and stuff like that, which they shouldn't be.
I wish they would sometimes.
Yeah.
You know who? There's a myth, or not a myth, a rumor flying around that James Franklin at Penn State, they've covered like their last 10 games or something like that, and they were getting beat in the second quarter by Northwestern, and they looked like dog shit. They were up, so the spread was like 26, and they were up 21 late.
Oh yeah, I remember that game.
They picked off Northwestern, and they could have taken a knee and just ran it out, but they put in their backups and they ran a fake knee pass, and they scored to cover the spread. And like when I bet on them week 1, they scored on 4th and goal with 2 seconds left to cover their spread.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me like coaches aren't aware of what's going on.
But at the same time, I think that's more so like trying to make their wins look better for the playoff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I can see that in college, but in the NFL, it does look a little more fishy if they were to do something like that. Because your wins don't really matter. It's or not
you don't
not
need
your
style
wins don't matter,
points.
but it's the quality of wins or the amount that you win by. It's so I do understand what you're saying, but in college it's so much harder to like kind of differentiate that
because there's vastly different talent levels in college and NFL. There are blowouts obviously, but NFL games they're typically in between the 1 to 10 point range, all of them, or a majority.
Gotcha.
Where at college, you see a team get beat by 60 and then beat a team outright that they shouldn't, which is weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all that newfound knowledge, I think I'm ready to bet.
Absolutely. I think we're dialed in now. I mean, I'm ready for a winning week. I need
Brooke,
one too.
I really appreciate you kind of explaining that to me. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, I may not be the best person to ask, but
well, you're better than both of us, so let's get it.
I'll call you Bookie Brooke for nothing.
Exactly.
I wish I had all the answers.
Well, Bookie Brooke, why don't you get us started here? Do you have a $100 bet in mind here?
I'll go back to the well because I'm not that confident in it, but give me Arizona plus the points. I think it was 22, Tyler said right now, against USC. I think Arizona can score, and USC will be looking ahead to whoever they play the next week. It's a ranked team. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame next week. So,
oh my gosh, Notre Dame's they're gonna get cooked by Louisville this week, aren't they? I forgot totally about
stretch. That's a tough stretch for Notre Dame.
Holy crap. Yeah.
And especially because, just like you mentioned, this is a much bigger game for Louisville than it is Notre Dame.
So not only is it a hangover spot for Notre Dame, it could also be a look ahead to USC. So there's 2 factors of that.
I mean, crazy stuff. Well, let's see here. So for me, my $100 bets, I got to start winning some real money here. So I got a lot of money line bets that I'm going to put on here. First of them is going to be Washington State money line. They're 3.5 point dogs. I think that they're in a spot to win this outright. I think it's kind of that age old adage where if they play their game and they play their game plan, they're going to win this football game. There's not a doubt in my mind. So give me Washington State money line.
I like that. I'm looking to the NFL here. Going over to England, the Bills have been electric, minus the first game of the year. But flying that far across the world. Give me the under on 48.5 for the Jags and Buffalo Bills.
Said it was 48.5.
That's correct. Under.
Whoops.
That's minus 110.
So I've been kind of going back and forth about my $200 one. I'm going to go with the Washington State UCLA game over. I believe it's 59. Washington State puts up a ton of points. And while I do think the defenses will matter, I think both offenses are going to be firing. 59, right?
59. Whoops, that's not right either. Well, that would be a fun game if that over hits. I'll tell you what. Nope, that's still not right.
Yeah,
Oh
there
my
you go.
God.
There we go. All right. Bookie Brooke after dark. Let's see. Another money liner here. Give me Purdue. They're 1.5 dog on the road against Iowa. I think Iowa stinks. If it was easier for me, and if I wasn't just if I was doing this in an app and not a sports book, I'd even buy a couple of more points to boost those odds. But yeah, give me Purdue to win outright in Iowa City.
Damn. So I was kind of we were talking about this earlier when we were making our game picks. Give me Arkansas plus 11.5 against Ole Miss. I think they have a real shot of winning this game outright.
It does feel like
This
one of
game-
those funky games that are.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really does. And I'm not even quite sure that this $200 bet is going to hit. I don't know. There's just something about this game that I love and I hate. So
Yeah.
give me that.
So for my $300 one, I may have to buy a half a point here, but give me Oklahoma plus 7. I think it's 6.5 right now.
It is 6.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. Minus 120, maybe 125.
I like that game a lot too. I like Oklahoma a lot. Give me Oklahoma money line. I think that they win outright. If nothing else, this just feels like a spot for Texas to let us down, just like they have year after year. So yeah, give me Oklahoma to win outright.
Oklahoma's defense is pretty good, and it feels like Ewers hasn't been tested yet. So as long as Dylan Gabriel can just be good enough, if he plays great, they might shit on him, but just don't make the big mistake. Get your points where you can. Be smart, and I think they win that game.
Another thing I think that's worth mentioning is we mentioned that Oklahoma hasn't played anybody yet, but I also feel like that could mean that we haven't seen the best of them on film yet, where we probably did see Texas try to kick it into 5th and 6th gear. So I think that they just have more to prepare for it than Texas does, vice versa.
Also, with rivalry games with teams of similar talent, especially this one, this game's always close, I feel like. Back and forth.
Yeah.
So for my $300 bet, I'm gonna do like a little emotional hedge. I'm gonna take the Jets plus 1.5. I think their defense is way better than ours. I don't see us scoring very many points. Right now they are minus 110, to cover, 105 to cover that spread. I don't see the Broncos being able to outscore the Jets. Granted, they don't score very often, but their defense is way better. I think the Jets kind of handle that easily.
I like that analysis.
Not a bad move there.
So I'm back and forth on how I want to do these next two. Which one am I more confident? I'll go I'll go Louisville plus the points for my $400 bet. Is it 6 or 6.5?
Whoops.
So I have a question here. So I'm looking at Washington State, UCLA. Why would Washington State plus 3.5 be minus 115 when UCLA minus 3.5 be 105?
Probably just because of the number where
Like people are betting on Washington State to win.
No, not necessarily. It's just because 3.5 is the hook with a field goal. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean,
it does vary a little bit, but for the ease of the spreadsheet, I usually just default to minus 110 unless it's like a money line or anything crazy like that, or like a prop bet.
Yeah, because their money line is plus 140.
Yeah.
For Washington State, which I loved. I love that, by the way.
Louisville's plus 6.5. I'm just gonna buy it up to 7 again, just in case I need that extra half a point.
Not a bad move. Let's see here. So I think I want to cook up the. I like Tyler's analysis of the Jets. Give me Zach Wilson over 201.5 passing yards.
I think that's so easy. I really do think that's so easy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw
our defense is so butt. Like I don't see them stopping them once.
Just to play devil's advocate, if the Jets get that running game going, they may not want to throw the ball.
Yeah, and they might not even have to be honest. Like, I'm so sick of the fucking Broncos. But I'm gonna take Washington State money line plus 140. I think they win this game outright. Like, I don't think it's even gonna be in a question. I can't believe that this line is where it is. Like Washington State is so fucking disrespected right now.
I'll point this out. This feels like go ahead.
Trap game.
This does feel like a trap game, but maybe Vegas. I mean, every now and again, this might be like reverse psychology. Vegas is like, oh, they're gonna bait you into thinking UCLA is better. I don't know.
That's what I thought the Colorado-Nebraska point spread was all that money was going on Colorado, and they wouldn't budge the point spread.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they were right all along. Gave us common folk a win.
I agree with you. I think Washington State's a way better team, but something feels fishy here. Maybe it's for no reason. Maybe they want people to bet UCLA.
It's the big one.
So I'm very staunch on this. Alabama sucks. Texas A&M looked crazy good last week against Arkansas. Give me Texas A&M money line.
Oh, that's a big one. That's one that I'm going almost all money line here. That's one that I saw. I was like, I don't even want to touch that. That's crazy.
I think
for a $500 bet, let's go.
I think Alabama's having a down year, especially with Milrose throwing the ball issues. I like A&M, and I love Max Johnson at quarterback for A&M.
He's been good. Let's see here. I am going to make a quick audible here. I'm going to change one bet just because Brooke talked me into A&M. So for my $100 bet, give me Nebraska money line. Like I said, I think this was. I think they're going to kick the shit out of Illinois. I don't think there's much to it other than that. And then for my $500 bet, Brooke talked me into it. Gig 'em. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
So tell me why I should not bet the under on the Cowboys 49ers game at 44.5.
Oh.
That's a lot of.
I feel like that line's kind of low, just thinking out loud.
Also, why would you not bet the 49ers minus 3.5? Because this is a game I'm looking at. This is a game I think I want to bet on. I'm just trying to see it from all sides
Where's the game being played at?
in San Fran.
Ooh. I really like the 49ers in that spot.
Minus
But if
3.5.
you're gonna where all of the games are so close in between the 1 point or 1 and 10 point, difference. Most NFL games are close. If you're gonna
Yeah.
do that, I would buy it down to 3, just so you don't get beat by the hook there. So in case,
Well, so I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I think that's going to be pretty handy. Or they're going to beat them pretty easily, rather.
okay, if you feel confident in it, go for it.
Feels like a winner.
But I'm just like, this is the kind of thing I was talking about earlier. Like, why is it 44.5? Like, I feel like it should go under that, which is with both defenses.
I would just say, the Cowboys gave up 28 to Arizona, but on the flip side, that the Cowboys can score some points. It's not out of the realm of possibilities where it could be like 27-24, 24-21.
Yeah, and you also got to think. Well, first of all, this is the NFL. It's not the SEC. They do play defense here
Yeah.
at this level. But you also with the 3.5 point spread, they're kind of looking at it as like a 24-21 point game. If you think it's going to be a higher scoring game than that, then absolutely the over is the move. If you don't think, they're going to get to that point, then the under is absolutely the move.
It's hard for me to talk you on or off something if I don't feel a particular kind of way about it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do the 49ers by 3. I'll buy down the half point.
Yeah, I think that's smart just in case it's a close game and they do end up winning by 3. You don't get beat by the hook there.
So
and if they win by 10,
Go ahead,
then
sorry.
you don't even have to worry about it.
So how does that affect the odds? Like, if you buy that point, what does that mean other than they just have to win by 3?
The payout's a little bit less.
Yeah, so
I don't know what the exact math is, but
so it's probably going to be minus 120. So you'd have to risk 12 to win 10.
Okay, so 3.5 minus 3.5 is 110. So you think it goes up to 120?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll do that. I think they're gonna win. I think that they're gonna fucking handle the Cowboys. Like, it's gonna be a joke.
Yeah. If you think that, this just
49ers
just protects you.
Yeah, I think that the 49ers just handle the Cowboys very easily. I don't think that Dak Prescott is anything. I mean, losing Trayvon Diggs is huge for that Cowboys defense, and also having Micah Parsons. I mean, they're trying to downplay that a little bit. Like, he's not that hurt, but he's fucking hurt. He has a high ankle sprain like Jeff Sims does. I don't think that he is going to make having him out there on the field does make an impact, just because people are going to be looking at him because he's so fucking good. But he's not going to be as explosive. At least I don't think he's going to be as explosive as he is when he's super healthy.
Yeah. And that's the other thing you were saying, talk you off of the under. What if the 49ers just blow them out and put up 40 by themselves and Dallas scores 10 points?
Which I think that they could definitely do that. Like, I love this 49ers team. Like, they are an incredible team. I think that they could do that by themselves very easily. But there's also that flip side where maybe Dallas's defense like clamps down and just shows out, because Dan Quinn is a very, very good defensive coordinator. But I think Mike Shanahan is just a better offensive coordinator there. So give me the 49ers minus 3. I'll take that all day.
Love it.
Let's go. I think we got a lot of winners here. I think we're going to win a lot of fake money this week, fellas. Big bounce back for the boys.
Let's go. Going 5 for 5, baby.
Well, perfect. Anything else you feel?
And I'm back in my home. I'm back in my hometown, in my home realm. the NFL. I know so much more about that than I do the college scene. So
Let's go.
I'm feeling very confident.
Love it.
Absolutely, fellas. Anything else you'd like to add?
I just
Go
love
Big
you
Red.
guys so much, and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.